What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Dean. What's going on? Donovan ain't gonna be here today, so we're gonna do a show. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Dean. What's going on? Yeah, we're live here at the Redline. Scar that. If y'all want to call in, the number is 515-605-9373. That is 515-605-9373. That's the number we need for you to go ahead and call in so we can go ahead and talk to you and chop it up with you. 515-605-9373 is the number. Just want to welcome you all to the show. Looks like I'm going to be going. All right. No. All right. Hold on a second. All right, guys. So I'm looks like I'm gonna be doing this solo by myself. So we're gonna be chopping it up and knocking this joint out. So if y'all want to call in, y'all can. Let's see. Street King. What did you say here? Street King. Let's see here. I wish I could catch y'all live. I gotta hit the sack, work in the morning. I'll catch you up tomorrow. Y'all be rolling the hood. All right, well, that's what's good, man. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate the love, man. But again, guys, if y'all have any questions, y'all can call in. And what we're gonna be talking about today is the unafraid man. And that's something that's very important for a lot of guys out there, man. How to be unafraid is something that a lot of guys really don't understand and really have problems going with or not really going with, but uh, having the trouble of walking through walking through the steps of manhood as it is. And a lot of guys say that, you want to be men and you want to do things to be great men. But unfortunately, for a lot of guys out there are steps that you got to take and there are things that you have to do as men to be able to grow and to be able to function and to be able to move. And for a lot of people out there, they have the problems, they have the troubles and stuff like that of growth. And what we want to do is we want to kind of talk about that today. And we want you, have a good night, Street King. Thank you for the super chat, man. We appreciate that, man. Good looking out, man. It's very nice of you, brother. And we definitely give you a shout out and everything. So, and again, guys, I'm setting up the number right here in the chat room. Okay, that's the chat room number, so we're good to go. So, what we're going to do here is we are going to sit and we're going to discuss what happens, where does it come from, how does it start, and what are the things that you have to do to get all this together, man. And if for a lot of you guys, if y'all have questions, you have comments, y'all want to put it into the chat room, y'all can. Pause and we'll definitely stop and we'll definitely talk more about that and everything, man. So, um, but I see a few guys making comments, and I will go ahead and answer those right away for you guys out there. Um, let's see, 89. Let's see, it took a while since all the conditioning to deal with. I feel for any man transitioning without a positive man role model. Yeah, well, 89, a lot of guys do need a role model and they need someone to give them guidance. I think that's a thing that a lot of guys don't have. Unfortunately, for a lot of men out there today, they have taken a lot of qualities of women. And it's not just the haters, it's a majority of these guys out there. And the majority of these guys out there just don't know or understand that the way they talk and text has a lot to do with it, but it's also a lot of internal things that a lot of guys have to go through and go over, which we will definitely cover. Global TV. Steve, my mom keeps starting arguments with me. Man, she keeps bugging me. Well, what I would ask you is the question I would ask you is what are those arguments about? And guys, I want to call in, y'all have the number. What are those arguments about? How old are you? And that's another important thing. It's very important that, and like I say, I don't know if you're how old you are. I hope you're over 18, but um, you're having arguments with your mother. I'm just trying to figure out how old you are. How do you get over a breakup like a man? Well, a breakup is more about sacrifice. Um, once you once you understand more about yourself, you'll do more preventative maintenance to prevent that. For a lot of you guys right now, because you fall in love and all that other stuff, a lot of you guys don't fall. What we do is called falling into respect and not love. So that happens to a lot of guys and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that these are things that you cover, but these are things that happen with a lot of young men out there or a lot of men out there who don't know what a standard is or have no idea what a principle is or have narratives and laws, rules, and codes that they must go by. The thing about being unafraid is it's a powerful mechanism for a lot of guys out there who have more understanding of who they are and how they operate. For a lot of guys out there, you don't understand your operation system. A lot of you guys out there are under the impression that you can just say that you're something and think that that's okay and the world is going to perceive you as that thing, and that's not the truth. The truth of the matter is that you will always be tested by people no matter where you go, because there are a lot of people out there that they've got to see if you're the real deal. And even when it comes to relationships or dealing with your mom or dealing with your family and things like that, you got to learn how to take a stance for things. And a lot of guys out there don't know how to take a stance. You're 23 and she keeps doing consistent pretty stuff, like bringing up my ex, telling my family business. Since I started listening to you, she's even, well, Global TV, this is the thing that is very important. Chris, I'll answer that in 1 second. This is the thing, Chris, that you have to understand. Now, are you living with your mother right now, or are you do you have your own place? That's the question I wanted to ask you, Global TV. Are you living with your mother, or do you have your own place? And once you answer that question, I'll be able to help you. But until then, I'm gonna go to Chris. But Global, please answer that question. And once you answer it, I'll be happy to move on to the next question. Um, the next thing is, let me see here. I'm still trying to figure myself out. I don't feel like I'm a man yet because I don't have the XYZ. I know it's a limiting beliefs. Well, the thing is, Chris, is that you're always going to be growing as a man and you're always going to work on figuring yourself out, because when you're doing it correctly, your growth is going to be a mental thing. And it kind of rolls into Global TV, where for a lot of you guys, you've got to know how to draw a line in the sand. A lot of people can't draw the line in the sand. And the reason why they can't draw the line in the sand, because there are a lot of people, okay, you're with her at the moment, but I got a car. Well, this is part of the issue and part of the problem for you, Global TV, is the fact that being a being a man means that you have got to make your own way for yourself. As a 23-year-old man, you should not be living with your mother at this point. And I know sometimes a lot of you guys go through problems, and that's why one thing I always like to promote to guys: when you're 18, you should already have a plan. You should not be living with your mother. You are a grown man, and if as a grown man, what's going to happen is your mother is you're going to lose not only respect of your family but also your mother, and this is part of the reason why she's still trying to tell you what to do even though you're a grown man, because you don't have any options. All these things sometimes comes down to options as well. And for a grown man, you know having your mother bring up the ex, telling your family business and things like that, those are things that are just purely unacceptable as a man. You're not supposed to allow anybody in your life to talk to you in that kind of manner at that age. And like I say, guys, if y'all want to call in and y'all want to discuss more, y'all can call in. But the thing is that for a lot of you guys out there, it's very important to know you. knowing yourself and knowing what you will see. It's not just to see. I think this is something that guys need to understand. See, a lot of guys will sit around and a lot of guys will say things like, "Oh, I'm a man, I'm tough, I know what I'm doing, and I've got all this covered, and nobody can tell me what to do. I'm a boss," and whatever y'all want to say that you are and how you feel. But some of the problems and some of the issues that you guys are going to have is that it's not about saying what you are. It's never about what you are. It's the perception people have of you. That's what it is. Yes, if you're calling from abroad, I think I forgot how Donovan does it, but I think it's like 0001 or something like that. I'm not sure what the number is, but the important thing is to make sure that in all of this is that you've got to learn how to have a standard. And I think a thing with a lot of you guys is that you don't have that standard. Your standard is predicated and based off of how the wind blows. If the wind blows to the left, that's where your standard's going. There's no solid foundation. And if you're living under somebody's roof, and again, you're 23 years old, I really feel like you need to be out of the house. You need to live with somebody else. But there's no way that I'm going to sit there and allow my mother to tell me what kind of man I need to be. I couldn't live under those conditions. Now, I think George is there. George, is that you right there, big dog?
I am here, yes.
How are you doing, brother?
Good, man. Very good, thanks.
Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, George? I'm sure everyone knows you. You know, you're the Don, man. Everybody knows you, but go ahead and let them know a little bit about you, George.
Yeah, professional barber, hair industry. Prior to that, 22 years as a therapist. Married, divorced, 3 children, writing and speaking all over the country, the world. Huge YouTube channel, George Bruno. Instagram, Twitter, all my name. I toss out a lot of ideas. Not everything is right, but I like the volleying of ideas. I don't think one single person or ideology has all the answers, and I'm open to listening to other people. I like reasoning with people. I'm not real big into black and white thinking, and that's about it.
Okay. Well, George, we're talking about how to be unafraid to be a man today. When you hear that, what crosses your mind?
Unafraid to be a man. Being decisive. To me, I think that's one of the top qualities that a man can have. That's when you go from from being wishy-washy to decisive. To me, that's the real rite of passage. When your yes means yes, when your no means no. When you can say to your children, look at me, don't look at the TV, look at me, listen to me, listen to what I have to say. Are you listening to me? Yes, Dad. And they have your undivided attention. When you are with your woman, it's follow my lead, not what do you want to do? Versus, I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know what. Have plans, be decisive, execute those plans, be the rock that you are meant to be in your family and your social circles. And it takes practice.
Yeah. I feel like, and for y'all guys out there, if y'all want to call in and you have a question, 515-605-9373. Also, guys, if y'all want to ask a question in the chat room, y'all can. But the thing, I love the answer that you're giving, George, and I think a lot of these guys, I think a lot of people go wrong. It's like you say, be decisive, George, which is absolutely correct. I think a lot of guys they do is they say, okay, well, he says to be decisive. That means, you know what? Today is a day I'm going to be decisive. It doesn't work like that, guys. It does not work that way for you guys out there who don't have a sense of self. And the thing, George, I feel that's important to a lot of these guys is that they've got to maybe start at a lower level of really, okay, if I say something, George, I will stand by it. I will back that up, and I know why it is I'm doing
Right.
what I'm doing. But and again, you're 1,000% right being decisive. But for a lot of guys, they have always been under this impression that okay, if he says I need to be this, I'm going to be it until he steps out that door, and then he goes right back into the pumpkin. You know, George. And I think that for these guys, they need to maybe. And what's your take on this, George? I always think to grow, you got to take small steps. You can't just go into algebra, geometry, trigonometry. You can't go into math and addition and subtraction. You really got to learn how to count from 1 to 10 to be able to move on to the next step. What's your take on that, George?
Well, I can see what you're talking about. Taking giant steps, yeah, is hard for a lot of people, especially if they're not used to taking steps. I think that you practice decisiveness in small areas of your life by following through on things. I mean, you have to be decisive with yourself before you are decisive with any other people. For instance, if you say you want to start working out and you know, like after work, let's say you're at work, the average guy is at work and he's tired and he knows he has to go home, get his gym clothes on, put his shorts on, or grab his gym bag and then head to the gym. When you add that extra step in there of having to go home first, I know when I come home and I put my bag down, the last thing I want to do is go back out. If I'm working till 7 or 8 at night, literally, man, when I come in and put my little briefcase down or my little backpack down, it's tough to leave the house again for another hour and a half, 2 hours and go to the gym. I find that if I pack my gym bag in the morning, take it to work with me, I am more likely to go to the gym and have less doubts after work than I will go to the gym after work and then go home. But I find once I go home, man, forget it. Forget it. I just find you decrease the likelihood of working out. Now this is at 7 or 8 at night. When was that decision made to work out? It was made at 7 o'clock in the morning. You committed to it. You were decisive. So by 10 p.m. or 8 p.m., you have your gym bag in your car and you stop at the gym on the way home because you know coming home, you're not going to go back out. So I find that decisiveness can be planned in little ways. If you can't control yourself, there's no way you're going to control your family. Decisiveness is, I know for me in my world, man, you guys don't know it. I have some pretty rough language, and I've been personally trying to clean it up. And I'll tell you what, it's been a real hard thing for me. So, and I've tried all kinds of behavioral things and putting the rubber band on my wrist. And every time I curse, I snap the rubber band and try to do a little, behavioral conditioning. And I find that if I just make a decision to do it and stick with it, like I'll be honest, this is me. I'm going to try not to curse tonight on tonight's show. And I got nothing against anyone who does. Zero issues with that. I'm just seeing if I can do it. And to me, that's the final frontier, man. I tell you, my mouth, that's the hardest thing to control. That is the hardest thing to control when it comes to relationships, your mouth is the hardest thing to control because your mouth does all the damage. You might not be a violent person with these, but you could be a violent person with this. And you might not be driving people away in your life with these, but you're driving people away with this. And I find if I can control this apparatus right here, I got pretty much control of my life because every deal I make is made with this apparatus. Every time I tell somebody I love them, it's made with this apparatus. And so this thing is important. This thing that we call a mouth, it's important. And I find that if I'm decisive with just the smallest things on my own body, I will be entrusted with bigger things and greater responsibility in life, in business, in relationships, in commerce.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Well, for me, I just, I, I care, but I don't care.
Yeah.
And, I always tell guys, that well, women see me as an asshole because they can't move me. You know what I mean? They can't get me to do things. So because I say no, they find it assholeish or whatever, that you're a
Yeah.
you're a or all this other stuff. But the thing that I always tell guys is that everybody's going to test you, George. Everybody's going to see what they can get away with all the time. And I guess in those PUA circles, they call it shit testing or whatever. They're going to do.
Yeah.
They're always going to do that.
Yeah.
But what guys need to understand, and this is not just with women. This is now. Wait, and before I say this, I don't want you guys to go to work Monday and say, "Well, Steve told me that I should be decisive, and I don't have to do this work, and you go to hell, Miss." No, we're not saying that. We're not saying that. Well, what I'm saying to you guys is this: is that I draw a line in the sand with everybody. I treat everybody the way I want to be treated. That's my whole thing. I'm going to treat you with respect and kindness, but don't take my kindness for weakness. Because like George says, he's a guy's a mouth like a sailor. Oh, when it's on, it's on. But people need to know with you guys out there that you can't be walked over. That people cannot take advantage of you. That you have to stop apologizing for everything you do. But with that being said, as a man, you've got to know every move you make. And every move you make, you've got to be able to weigh out. I mean, again, this is not like a Twix moment where you bite a Twix and everything freezes and you have 3 or 4 days to figure out a chess move. You got to be on your feet all the time because life doesn't wait for you. Life always happens. And the important thing that I stress to you guys, and when y'all know, every time y'all call in or y'all talk, I tell you, whatever you say, stand by. Be able to back it up and know why you're saying it, because that is going to be part of your boundary that you need to have to stop being afraid. See, people, George, I throw it to you, and it's George. See, I think why most men are afraid, I think they're afraid because they don't know their potential. I think they have been so plugged into the media and all these people sitting around telling them what they should be. As soon as they step out, like George, real quick example. I don't care if you're Spanish, Chinese, black, white, whatever. There's someone in your family that does not like the fact that you are dating out of your race. Or there's someone in your family that does not like the fact that you wear blue jeans, or there's someone in your life or in your family that wants to control you. And George, I say as a man, when you leave your mother's house, no man should be able to tell you what to do. Now, not barring your job, George. I want to make sure I say that, but I want to throw it to you. But barring your job, sure, George, you can make a comment. You can ask me, what, or give me an idea like, oh, maybe you should do this, but don't tell me what to do. George, what do you got on that, fam?
Yeah, man. I am one that if I'm with my decisive moments with myself, I am one who I keep those things to myself. If you say to someone, "Yeah, I'm going to go to the gym every day after work for the next 2 weeks," and you don't go, the people in your life can be like, "Well, I thought you were going to the gym every," you know what I mean? Like you lose respect. So what happens is if you don't follow through on your own commitments to yourself, why should we be surprised when people lose respect for us?
Mm-hmm.
I think I mean, how many times do people say they want to lose weight or learn Spanish or learn martial arts or write a book or something like that, and they put something out there just to put it out there, and then they don't follow through on it. I mean, I grew up in an era where every kid had a train set in the basement or slot cars on a big plywood platform in the basement, and working on it with his dad. And there are more half completed train sets in basements all across this country than there are completed train sets. And it's because people don't follow through. They don't follow through. I go on Craigslist and look at exercise equipment, treadmills, Bowflex, weights, all kinds of racks and things like that. And what do you see more than not? Used only once, used only twice. And I'm like, wow, you actually went out and spent $500 on that exercise machine and used it only once? They had this bright idea that they were going to get up in the morning and use that treadmill every day, and that fell through. And now they're selling it for 1/5 of the price. Used only once, used only twice, used only for a week. I think I think we need to. I hate for some people the phrase "man up" is offensive. I don't care if it's offensive or not. Men know what I mean when I say to man up or be a man. That means be decisive, be independent of other people's opinions about you. Super important. I mean, if you have to, like, for instance, if you're going to go on a hike, you check the weather. If you're traveling for the day, you check the traffic see where the traffic jams are. You check the weather to see what attire. Maybe you need to bring an umbrella or a rain jacket or a hat or something with you. There are people who are like that in relationships. They got to check the weather all the time. They got to check and see if they are acceptable. Part of being a man is being decisive and not having to check and see if everything's okay with everybody before you act.
Right. Absolutely. All right. George, we got a call, guys. Again, if y'all want to call in, 515-605-9373 is the number. Area code 510. Did you have a question, sir? What's up?
Say what now?
Did you have a question, sir?
No, I don't have a question yet. I just had tuned in. I ain't have one yet.
Okay, well then let it call back in when you have one, sir, and we'll go from there. Okay, well let me say this, and this is important. I always say, I think, George, the first thing a lot of these guys have to start doing is they've got to start taking out the feminine behaviors that they have, because a lot of guys don't realize that a lot of the stuff that they're doing is more like women than men. They've got to stop blaming. They've got to stop being the victim. They've got to stop pointing the finger. They've got to stop always making excuses. They got to stop being unaccountable for their actions and irresponsible. They got to stop doing this because if you've noticed what I've noticed, George, out here is that a lot of guys have taken on mommy type mentalities and behaviors where they feel entitled, like everybody gets a trophy. Just because you're a man, you think that you should have the world, but it doesn't work that way. And I think what happens with these young boys is that because they are coddled before they go out that door in the Serengeti of life, George, that not only are they outside of their nature, but they think that it's okay to, I don't know, like I always say, just hate somebody to hate somebody. George, just hate for just for no apparent reason. I don't know you, but I hate you, or I hate you because another man hates you, or it's always the she did me wrong, and it's the grass's fault, it's the clouds' fault, it's the trees' fault, but nobody takes that accountability, George. But in order, like you say, in order to even get on the street where you're at, George, because the street you're on is a beautiful road once you are walking down it, you have got to be able to start doing things and thinking and behaving. Because like you said, you said man up. See, and for a lot of guys out there, now, George, I understand what you mean. Because George, I'm a motherfucking man. I get what you're saying. But for a lot of guys who are blinded, George, they might even get offended by you saying something like that because, again, they are driven by their emotions and not their logic. George, what say you, sir?
Yeah, I think that's more prevalent today because young men are raised by their mothers more than their fathers. It's a fact. And what happens is there's no woman in the world that can teach a young man about masculinity. She can give him her version of it, but it's not true masculinity. Even if the father is a total screw up, I still think that child needs time with the father. And because I still think that child can learn from the father. So what happens is the young boys leave the house, and I think we talked about this, and they end up back in mommy's house, mommy's basement. I've seen that before where, as I was out there in the dating world, it was just woman after woman after woman with adult child. I'm not talking about teenage or high school. I'm talking like sons that are like 25 years old living in the mother's basement. That is more than just a meme. That's actually when people say, "Oh, you're probably living in your mother's basement." That's not so. That phrase didn't just get pulled out of thin air. That's based upon reality. One thing you never hear, you never hear anyone say, "Oh, you're probably living at home in your father's basement." It's always in your mother's basement. Because I don't know a single father in the world that would enable his son to stay living in the basement, hidden, sheltered from the world. Whereas mommy wants to keep the boy sheltered. Mommy wants to make that boy her mini husband, her son. When she loses that son, she loses everything. She has nothing left to control. So, and this starts at a very young age. I mean, I remember my daughter put down like a blanket on the living room floor, and she's just a little thing, just scooching around, not even able to sit up, but just kind of like move a little bit. And I remember it was either a toy or a bottle was about 2 foot in front of her. And she was like reaching for it. And she was kind of like moving towards it. And and my wife says, "Well, pick it up and give it to her." I go, "No, let her kind of like crawl a little bit towards it." And she got mad at me. She got up, grabbed the toy or bottle or whatever it was, and put it right in my daughter's hands. Okay, great. So what did that teach my daughter? Everything will be given to you. Was it? And then it was perceived as cruelty on my part, or just pick any stupid thing that you can think of. I want to see my children work towards something and attain something. I don't want everything given to them.
Right.
And I think that is I think that's a female response to conflict, is to shelter people. The male response, biological male response, would be to fight. That's what I think. And um, women tend to nest. Men don't nest around their offspring. Men are on guard. Men stand guard, whereas women nest.
Right.
And I find that a young man coming out of a mother-only home, and there's many different types of homes that people can emerge from, I find that it weakens a man. I've had women say, well, my son joined the Marines, or my son's a police officer. I don't care. I used to be a therapist. I had many Marines and I had many police officers crying in front of me, making bad decisions. The tough police officer or the Marine, they don't have any less of a divorce rate than those who aren't police or Marines. They can still be mama's boys. Actually, I believe they actually have, I think these statistics for policemen, I think they have a higher divorce rate than the average profession, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know.
How a man looks on the outside, muscles, tough, means nothing. He could be a child on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Tough guy usually only refers to the external.
Right.
Show me a man who's decisive, and I'll show you a tough guy.
Yeah, well, and one of the reasons, and before I go on, this is being brought to you by Tactical Soap, guys, tacticalsoap.com. Also, guys, this is also being brought to you by the 21 convention that is happening October 24th through the 27th. If you want to get your tickets, there's an early bird sale that ends in about 10 hours. Just go to the 21convention.org/America, guys. You know, you were saying about being decisive. See, I think one of the things that I learned. See, George, the thing about me is that I came up at a time before the computers and all that. The seduction communities. I mean, I came up where you had to was raised. I mean, you came up hanging out with real people, or they would challenge you, man. They'd fight you if they didn't. If they felt you were weak, they would fight you, because that's just how the world was, in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
And so, one thing that I was taught at an early age when I got into this thing was that at the end of the day, you've got to understand that sacrificing things is one thing you must be able to do, because again, your mother right now, because I stay with some guys, someone said something in the chat room about his mother. He's 23 years old and his mom is still talking shit to him. Just talk, tell him about his life and all that other stuff. See, look, your mother, from the age when you're born or you're conceived to the moment where you should be out of her house around 17 or 18 after you graduate, your mother has no right to tell you what you should and should not do, because you are your own man. I feel like, George, you're your own man. And I think where a lot of guys go wrong is they worry about losing the love of somebody by standing up for themselves. And I say, George, and I know you don't want to cuss, but I'm saying, well, I'll say F you. I'll say F you. Because let me tell you something. You're not telling me what I can and cannot do. You don't have to agree on what I say, but don't disrespect me and think that you can tell me how to live my life. You can't tell me that anymore as a man. And if I say something, that's my law. If I ask you or my mom, Mom, please stop trying to butt into my life, and please stop trying to tell me how my curtains need to be, and please stop telling me who I need to date. I'm only George. I'm only going to let her know one time, because after you consistently do it, I got to cut that off. Because to me, George, rewarding bad behavior is one of the worst things you can do. If you ask somebody pleasantly and kindly, don't do that, because, and also, George, tell them why. Don't do that, mom. Mom, please, I like how my house is. I like who I date. Please just don't interfere in my life. Please, be kind with it. Now, I'm not saying cuss your mother out or anything like that if she does it again. I'm saying that for me, the sacrifices that I make, George, is that I just don't have the tolerance or the patience to coddle. To me, George, I can't do it. I can't do it, George. What say you, sir?
I'll tell you what, I've been single for about 15 years. I've had a lot of women come to my house over the years. And I've got I got a manly house. It's not dorm room manly. It's not like I have blankets in the windows and milk crates as bookshelves. But I've had women say to me, "Well, your apartment needs a woman's touch." I'm like hell, it does. It's my entire house is my man cave.
Yes.
I don't have a little corner of the house. That's my man cave. My whole house is my man cave. My entire apartment, when I lived in apartments, was my man cave. And a woman's touch, okay, you want to provide a woman's touch? All right, well, we'll be doing that later on, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I don't want you hanging stuff on my walls. I don't want you buying me pillows at TJ Maxx. Let me decorate the way that I want. I mean, if it's a practical item, you're helping me rearrange my linen closet or like whatever, or my cupboards, that's cool, whatever. But as far as like my decor, unless we are sharing this home, it's the way that I want it. And I'm not going to be a dick about it. It's just the way it is. Right. And I think that could be a shit test right there if you give in to little things like that. And I think you lose your power every time you get tested, whether someone's late, whether someone is dressed inappropriately for a date, yes, or going out. I know some women watching this would get offended. I don't care. Not because I'm trying to be a ding dong, but for instance, when I go out, I want the woman by my side to look beautiful.
Right. That's your
and I want her to show up looking beautiful, because that reflects on me. Now, when I go out, I'm ironing my clothes, I'm shaving underneath the beard, I'm exfoliating my face, I'm making sure that I smell good. I want to be 100%. I expect that as well. So I think when someone is not giving 100%, it is kind of a little bit of a shit test, and you lose your power every time. Every time you give in like that, what happens is your pants slowly dissolve, and then they become the person who wears the pants in the relationship.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds like really sexist talk, but it's really not. No. I know women want men to be men. Men don't have to tone down their masculinity to be attractive to a woman.
I agree.
Some men try to be silly, like the silly boy. Okay, I mean, there's a time and place to be humorous and be the fun guy and stuff. But you don't have to be somebody's clown or somebody's little pet monkey.
Right.
Yeah. And I think of in the old days when there was that guy, in the circus turning that little crank, that making music, and there was a little monkey on a chain, and people would, feed the monkey and put some money in the little can and stuff like that. And, I don't want to be some woman's pet monkey, but I don't want to be some communist leader either, telling her, how to live her life and what to do. I mean, if you find yourself having to straighten out a woman, like I had to straighten her out, then it's not for you. Who the heck wants to? I don't want to straighten anybody out. I'm an adult. She's an adult. If somebody needs straightening out, then you need to go in your own direction, man. You need to just hit the road.
I always say, George, I always say the same thing, man. You don't never try to force a woman into doing things. Matter of fact, I always talk about investments. When a woman realizes that you are investment, she will modify her behavior for you. But there is nothing about you to invest. Again, if you're this so-called unafraid person to be a man, why should she change for you? What does she get out of making the proper adjustments to somebody who is always willing to cave in, compromise, take off his spine, and apologize for everything he does? Women don't want that. They act like they always say, well, I want that, but that's not, excuse me, I always say need. I hate saying want because I'm all about need. I don't care about what she wants because she may want roses every day and flowers and you to take your shirt off in front of a puddle. She may want that stuff. But like you said, what she needs is a man that is all things. See, I think what's happening to a lot of guys is that they have been defanged, George, and declawed, in my opinion. They are more grass-eating lions because they don't even know what authenticity is, man. They don't even they think they've got to be somebody else. I've got to pretend and portray to be this person to try to please this person who I don't even know. I know nothing about her, George, but yet I gotta be somebody else. And the thing is that part of not being afraid is being authentic, because your actions, your word, when you speak and when you talk, it should sound like thunder to her, because she knows that you're going to stand by it, George. You're not going to sway anything. You're not going to be desperate and needy where, oh yeah, the sky is orange and the grass is blue. You're right. I used to be a Republican, but because you want to be a Democrat, I could be a Democrat if you want me to be. Women don't want that, George. Women don't want that at all. But for the guys that are listening, you've got to first, like I said before, stop making the excuses. Just it starts with one little law for yourself. You know what? This is what I expect of my friends. And if they are not giving you what you expect them to give you, or excuse me, no, wait, I don't want you to be like you say, George, it's not a dictatorship. What I'm saying is treat you. Let me, if anybody treats you with disrespect, I'm gonna say friends first. You have to ask yourself, what is the penalty for the disrespect? And whatever that penalty you come up with, as long as you live by it, that's going to start swinging the pendulum of how you begin to think, because a lot of you guys are so caught up in beauty, ass, titties, the way she walks, her tight clothes, her breasts. Oh my God, I don't want to mess this up. So, I want to be respected, George, but then they get in front of said woman, and then what is she doing? Being disrespectful. And then instead of standing by your principles and your narrative, George, what these guys do is they compromise because they don't want to, quote unquote, make any waves. I don't want to upset her. I don't want to lose her because she is probably the only woman I think I can ever get, George. What say you, sir?
I think that man is living by fear more than anything else.
Yes.
I think there's a certain amount of indifference that a man needs to have in everything, have a loose grip on everything, stuff and people. I think we need to be less emotionally attached to people and things,
Wow. Yes.
and not be afraid of letting go.
Yes.
Some people would call that form of, like, for instance, if someone's just being a prick, just, that's just pure evil, destructive indifference. But I think there's a certain amount of, I would call it constructive indifference, that is good for an intergender relationship. And I think it keeps people on their toes. If I came home and my wife, which I don't have a wife right now, and I don't know if I ever will, but if I came home and my wife was just eating ice cream and potato chips and watching Netflix all night, and she was getting bigger and bigger, by every month, I probably, I wouldn't, I know I wouldn't stand for it. I know I wouldn't stand for it. And I wouldn't want her, if she saw me doing that and she confronted me, I would view it as care. I would be like, you know what, thanks. That's just the encouragement that I need to maybe turn the damn TV off. Or better yet, what if she said to me, why don't we turn the TV off and go out and take a walk? Rather than judging me or criticizing me, and she just says, come on, get off your butt, let's go out and walk. I'll be like, okay, cool. And she grabs a bottle of water from the fridge, throws it at me, and then we go out and do a 2-3 mile walk. And you come back from the walk and you look at her and you say, wow, you know what, I feel better. Thanks for getting me out of the house. And so you can have this beautiful symbiotic relationship where you're helping each other grow. If she just called me, you fat piece of crap, all you ever do is eat ice cream and potato chips and watch TV and, whatever. And I realized if I did that to her, that wouldn't be conducive to peace in the house or keeping the peace, so to speak. I would rather be part of the solution than be part of the problem. I think complaining about the ice cream and potato chips might actually make her eat more ice cream and potato chips. And, if I went upstairs and got her sneakers and came down and put them down in front of her and said, hey, come on, put these on. Let's go out and take a walk. Let's both get into shape together. I think it's less condemning. It's taking responsibility for your household that I do believe will have dividends later on. You won't be seen as bossy. You won't be seen as domineering or controlling. That's another word that like ladies like to use. You're so controlling. But what if that controlling is to help them be a better version of themselves? That's very constructive controlling. And how many times has a friend, said, hey, let's go work out. And you're like, I don't want to work out. Come on, man, get off your ass and let's go to the gym. And you do. And then after you're done working out, you think to yourself, man, I'm really glad you got me up. I'm really glad that you got me out. And I think what happens is when people are honest with themselves, they appreciate the decisive person. When it comes to intergender relationships, I honestly believe that it's our role as the head of the household. And even if we're not married, I believe that the headship begins even in dating. You talk to most women, they can't stand a guy that says, what do you want to do? Yeah. They will say, I like saying this, Saturday night, we are going out dancing. It's a nice place, so we probably should dress a little bit nicer. We'll go out and have a nice light dinner first, and we're going to have a good time. And that leaves no room for moaning, groaning, disagreement. and you did your part. That's being a man.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of guys are, unfortunately, George, a lot of guys are just, again, you're 1,000%, you're hitting them out the park, but what do you do for the guy that's afraid to even approach a woman? I mean, what that guy doesn't understand is that he's done. I mean, if there is a relationship, well, you don't even want to call it the dictatorship would start when she realizes and she looks behind the curtain and she realizes that you are nothing but lies, manipulation. And we have a question. Wait a second. We have a question in the chat room. I'm sorry. Let me quit. Wow, a super chat. We got a super chat, $2 for Spark. Thank you, dog. Nova wants to ask a question. Why do parents boss adult children? George, would you like to go first on that one?
Yeah, they feel their life is out of control. They feel everything else. Children are the easiest thing to control. Put guilt trips on them.
Yeah.
You get the quickest return when you criticize a child. You try to criticize a stranger, they tell you to shove it. I know with I have 3 children, and I have found that when I suggest things,
yes,
and I'm a little bit more firm, that they're okay. They're okay with that. When I try to guilt trip them, I just get more of the same behavior.
yeah.
So, like I said, I want to be part of the. I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Right.
Parents that boss their adult children have taught those children that they are bossable.
Yes. Whoa, God, George, I'm gonna ride that wave right there. See, I have a problem with the question because I don't even know what an adult child is. You are neither a man or you're not. Well, I guess, hey, George, guess I can be considered an adult child because I'm a man that watches cartoons, plays video games, and still watches wrestling and cartoons. So I guess that's what they mean. An adult child. I don't know what an adult child is, but what I feel like this again, and this goes back to what I said before. Listen, if I need clarity or understanding on something that I know nothing about, I'll be happy to ask my parents, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? Well, one thing for me, George, don't tell don't tell me or boss me around unless I'm working in your company. Like if I'm an employee of your company, then yes, you can boss me around because I'm working for you to get that paycheck. But outside of that, do not talk to me like I'm some type of I'm not gonna cuss, George, a female dog. Like I'm some type of female dog or something. You know what I mean? I'm nobody's George female dog.
That's
And
right.
right. So the thing is, your parents, especially your dad, they want you to take that next step as a man to draw a line in the sand and say, don't talk to me that way. I'm not your child anymore. Yes, mom, I will always be your baby. In your mother's eyes, you'll always be seen as her baby, but I am not your child. That means, mom, you cannot try to guilt me into doing things. You cannot sit around and say, well, I clothed you and I fed you and I took care of you and you were supposed to do that, mom. What are you talking about? I didn't ask to be brought into this world. Y'all brought me in this world, and it was your responsibility. So, mom, don't guilt me. Do not do that. And your dad, I tell you, George, I don't know how many of my clients I got a punch in the chest when they tell me that their dad always have told them, happy wife, happy life. I'm like, man, the next time your daddy says something like that, you need to correct him. Don't let anybody boss you around when you become a man. Yes, you can ask for what they think, George, in my opinion. Sure. What do you think? I'm not sure about this. I want to get your opinion. If I ask for your opinion, George, yes, I want to hear it. But don't give me your opinion. Don't demand that I have to listen to it. And don't feel like if I don't listen to you that I'm going to be in trouble as a man, George.
I have told my children, I'm here if you need me. And they sometimes take it up, take me up on that.
Yes.
But they pretty much are kind of making their own bed. And
Right.
if you rescue them all the time, then the world doesn't rescue people. The world can be pretty harsh. But if you rescue them every time they screw up, or every time they fail, and we don't allow them the beautiful benefit of consequences, the consequences of their folly can be the biggest teacher.
Right.
The absolute biggest teacher. And I honestly believe that if we just always rescue people, they're never going to learn. That's called enabling. We end up just allowing people to keep that behavior over and over, whether it's our children. If I was married, I'm trying to think. If I was married, how would I do it? I would always be there for my wife. That's a fact. That's I wouldn't get married if I had an attitude that was different than that. I would be there for her, but I would not. It would be very clear that I'm not going to be manipulated. It's not going to happen. You're not going to take your emotions to your girlfriends. Do whatever you got to do, but I'm not going to be manipulated by your emotions. I am going to be the rational, sane person in this relationship that's not operating on hormones and feelings. I'm operating on principles, values, and out of that comes decisiveness, I believe.
Yeah, what's amazing to me is that a lot of guys out there feel like they don't have a voice. They don't have a choice or an option, and that's not true. Our Spark, please answer your question. We'll be happy to answer it. Thank you for the super chat. And also, guys, we want to let you know if y'all do want to call in, 515-605-9373 is the number tonight, or put your questions in the chat room and I'll be happy to answer them there. With George, who's here, my dog, White Chocolate, my boy, Ace Boom Coon. And the thing is, George, at the end of the day, you can't allow someone to dictate your path, but you've also got to know what your pathway is. Now, wait a second. Someone gave us a $15 super chat, so let me go ahead and read the question. What is a proper course of action for a man after he F's up, George? I won't cuss. E.g., getting too drunk at a wedding and being too boisterous and embarrassing one's girlfriend. Already answered in chat. Curious on your guys' view. So, George, I guess you're reading the chat room as well. So, would you like to go first on that one, George?
Yeah, sure. Right. What is the proper course of action for a man after one F's up, getting too drunk at a wedding, being too boisterous, embarrassing one's girlfriend? Already answered in chat. Curious on your guys' view. I never deal with intoxicated people. There's only one thing that intoxicated people respond to, and that's force. And I want to be peaceful in the way that I deal with people. You can never ever reason with someone who's high or intoxicated in alcohol. You just can't. They're under the influence of something, and it's certainly not reason and sanity and clarity. I wait until the next day when sanity, clarity, and reason is more accessible. And I get them shaking their head, yes, in agreement with me, and say, I would say something like, "Man, yesterday's behavior was pretty crazy. Would you agree with that?" And obviously, they might say, "Yeah, it was crazy." And I might say something like, "I bet you might wish that you did something different." Yeah, I do. You probably wish you didn't drink so much, right? Yeah. What would you do different? If you had it to do all over again, what would you do different? And I have found that so many people have the answer inside of them. They already know. The person might say, "Well, I wouldn't drink so much, and I realized I embarrassed myself, and I embarrassed my family, my girlfriend, and I disrespected her, and disrespected people, and I made a fool out of myself." And all of a sudden, it's like bingo, light bulb moment. They created, or they discovered a solution to their own issue without being lectured to by me. So I find a proper way of handling that might be is to be a facilitator of questions and making them think rather than just sitting there, like a kid, with their arms folded while you're lecturing them. No one responds to that.
Right. You know what, George? What I would do is something totally different. What I would do, because that's a great response, George. I would be like this: if I know that person's an alcoholic, okay, I know he drinks a lot. Now, George, this is now again. Let me give you an example. Let's say hypothetically, you're marrying 3 women. I mean, let's just make it. I mean, I want. You want 4 women, George? You pick the number. You want 4 women? You're marrying 4 women at one time, and you invite me to your wedding, and you're like, bring your friends. The more the merrier. All is welcome type thing. And my friend is an alcoholic. First thing is, George, like I always say, I'm all about respect. First off, I will appreciate you inviting me, number one. But number two, the one thing I'm not going to do is hey, if you're going to drink and get bored, don't come. Don't embarrass me, because I feel like this, George. Anybody I bring to your wedding, you know me, and they are a representation of me. And if they are messing up, then it falls on me, George. And I'm like this: I will invite you, but I will tell you this much: if you become boisterous at George's wedding and you're embarrassing George's 3 or 4 wives, then me and that person's got a problem, George. Out of your company, George, you invited me. And I didn't have to bring these people. But I don't know, Spart, are you talking about you, or are you talking about your friend? Because if you're talking about you, Spart, you gotta, I'm saying for you, Spart, if you're talking about you gotta take response. See, this is the thing I don't understand about people. If you know that you're an alcoholic and you know you're going to a wedding, why can't you keep your ASS? See, George, I'm trying to cut.
You're doing good.
Why can't you keep your ASS away from the BAR? Well, why can't you stay away from the bar? Because I tell you what, like I say, if it was George's wedding and I was family with George and I saw someone being boisterous of that, we're going to have problems. I'm going to take you around back and beat your ASS. George, I'm sorry. We're too grown. We are too grown to baby people. You know what I mean, George? You're right about what you're saying. I agree. But what I'm saying is George, is this. This is a moment in your life, George. This is a great celebration of you honoring a woman with your last name. Okay. I'm going to be DAMN sure that this thing goes smoothly if I'm like your best man or one of these guys, the guys on the side. What I'm saying is that if I catch boisterous and I catch embarrassing, they getting thrown out the wedding. I'm grabbing them and I'm tossing them literally out the wedding because you don't deserve that. What's your take on that, George?
Well, I think there's a time and place for everything. I think there are situations where what I said is viable and appropriate. And I think there's times and situations where what you said is viable and appropriate.
Yes.
I mean, I was a doorman, otherwise known as a bouncer in a strip club, and you would not believe there were the kind of the bouncers that would never make it were the guys that always thought violence was the way out. And doormen and bouncers can get away with crap that just the average man can't.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, they're dealing with people that are drunk and high and, boisterous and out of control and whatever. Yeah. But on the other hand, I've seen bouncers that are just total gentlemen, and they end up being viewed as pushovers, and they don't get the job done. And you need to have multiple tools in your toolbox. If you need to reason with somebody, great, you reasoned with them. If you need to use force or the threat of force, then so be it. Then you have to do that. I found that both things were tools in my toolbox.
Yes.
I would not be afraid to go and put my arm around somebody firmly and say, "You having a rough night, brother?" Like that. And the guy would say, "Man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Like that. And he knew just from my grip that I meant business. And then there were those that I know could not be reasoned with. And that's when you grab them by the collar and put an arm behind their back and take them out the door as quickly as possible. Yeah. And then you, on the way out, you're saying to the bartender, call the police right now. And I got the person in a hold outside up against the wall until the police come. That has happened as well. Mm-hmm. But both things,
yes,
both things need to be available to you. You have to have multiple tools in the toolbox when dealing with life. When it comes to dealing with a woman, dealing with a wife, sometimes you have to be firm.
Yes.
And she might kick and scream, but thank you later for it. There's other times where you just got to walk away. You know that. Put your damn hands in your pockets and walk away.
Right. You're George.
And just let her have her tantrum all by herself.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
A man without options
Woo!
is always going to get himself in trouble. You need to have there's always more than one way to deal with a situation. And I believe a lot of that comes with age. Whereas I find that the younger, like I knew like doormen, bouncers that were bigger than me, big boys, much younger than me, and they always felt that violence, they just wanted to exercise that violence and get that in. And then whenever I dealt with an issue without any kind of force or violence, I'm talking like the big guys would say to me, "Dude, you are smooth." I said, "No, it has nothing to do with being smooth. It's just that I saw an opportunity to de-escalate a situation without using force or the threat of force."
You know what, George? I always, you're 1,000% right. And Spart, I don't know if you were talking about you or a friend that you're dealing with, but I'm saying for you guys out there, again, I'm not one to judge anyone. I don't drink. I remember A1 made me drink a beer. That's a beer. One beer ain't gonna make me all belligerent or whatever. But my whole thing is this, man. You guys have got to learn how to be accountable, and you got to learn how to think. You got to learn how to do that, because a belligerent like George said, you might luck up and find someone to talk to you tomorrow about that. But somebody in that wedding might be itching to do some bodily harm to somebody who is messing up something for his sister. You know what I mean, George? You just don't know. You see, what you guys understand, you don't know the people. When you go to an event like a wedding, you don't understand that sometimes the bride has older brothers and younger brothers who want the wedding to go smoothly. And they don't want it. If somebody's messing up my kid's sister, George, that kind of thinking, you never know. So what I'm saying for you, Spark, is I don't know if you're an alcoholic or not, but there is no reason for you guys to get drunk and belligerent in somebody else's event. Because that's, to me, George, that's being disrespectful. And I don't, I hate, one thing I can't stand, George, is someone being disrespectful to something knowingly they're doing it, making the choice to do it. Because if you can't hold your liquor, George, then you don't need to be at that wedding. And again, and like George said, and if you go to that wedding, like I say, George is right. George, that's why George, you my dog, man, because you said that option thing, man. Y'all just, I always talk about that, George. You guys have got to understand options, but that's for another time, another story. But Spark, I don't know what the situation was, but if it was you being belligerent, you need to go seek some help. If that's you, if you're the guy that was drunk and belligerent at someone else's wedding, then you need to go get some counseling or some help because you have a problem for going in somebody else's event and messing it up. That's on you, but I don't know if it's him or not, George. But what's your take on that, fam?
My thoughts are, I just keep going back to the whole options thing. I think every man watching this right now needs to know that he has options.
Yes.
He is not doomed or destined. That's fatalism. He's not doomed or destined to be alone forever. If he lost a relationship, he's not doomed to be single and quote unquote not good with women, or the past does not equal the future. And I just want to reiterate that with every single man here tonight, and even any women that might be watching. The past does not equal the future. We have all screwed up. All of us have screwed up, and we've lived to tell about it. So, I talk to people who say, I pissed away so many years. And my thing is this, is that, well, let's take a look at the 5 years that you think you pissed away. Tell me some of the things that happened in those 5 years. Did you get a degree? Did you get a certification? Did you lose weight? What are some of the lessons that you learned about what not to do during that 5-year period or 10-year period? And they start making a list. And then they start seeing, things that they learned that are of value. They start pulling some gems out of those 5 or 10 years that they first described as being wasted. And what happens is then you discover that 5 or 10 years wasn't a total waste. That way you can feel it wasn't just a glitch in your life.
Yes.
It was a period where you didn't make the best decisions, but how can you extract wisdom and learning from that? Every man who has a failed marriage, if you talk to him long enough, he's going to see, even if he feels like his wife left him and it wasn't his fault and he got blindsided and broadsided and left for dead and all that stuff and got taken through divorce court and custody court, whatever. When I talk long enough with that man, eventually he's going to tell me somehow, some way where he might have dropped the ball. Somehow, some way, somewhere where he fell short. And I'm not putting the blame on men either, but I'm not putting all the blame on women, as is quite often done. One person told me years ago, when it comes to divorce, someone said, there's your side, there's her side, and then there's the truth. And I used to fight that. Oh my Lord. But now I look back on my marriage that ended, and I see the role that I played in the demise of my marriage. I see it very clearly.
Yeah.
Some people have called me zeroed out, and that's BS right there. Some people have said that I don't understand intergender dynamics. That's BS too. Everyone has different ways of dealing with stress and chaos. And what I did for the longest time was I withdrew. But during that alone time, during that monk mode, during that time alone, I saw the role that I played in the demise of my marriage. And how foolish would I ever be to enter into a long-term relationship or marriage ever again, doing the same thing that I did the first time? If you don't learn lessons from the past, you're just doomed to repeat those same failures over and over and over. I meet so many people that are married 3 and 4 times, and I'm like, how can you be married 4 times? Like, didn't you like learn your lesson the first time? And divorce is never easy. I don't care if people say, well, we're still friends. That's another one that gets me. We're still friends. I'm like, well, then why'd you get divorced? You know? So options, man. It's all about the options.
Yeah, we have 9 minutes left in the show, guys. If y'all want to call in, 515-605-9373 is the number. George, you know, you were saying something again, another something that you said very great that I love was that, you know, a lot of people talk about you don't know intergender dynamics and all that other stuff. That's that feminine.
Yeah.
That's that feminine stuff I'm talking about. It's
Yeah.
See, you know, I've been telling guys lately that the internet has done a doozy to a lot of guys because they truly think that it was just stones and cavemen or something before the internet kicked off, and everything y'all are doing is so brand new, like it's never been done before. And there are people out there who don't know the game and all that other stuff, and that's why, George, you know, I was trying to give some of these young men a history lesson. Most guys who are on the internet teaching so-called pickup and all the other stuff, they learn that from hustlers, pimps, max, and play. They learn that from people on the street. You know what I mean? They took from a little few things from the street, but they try to make something of it and take it onto the internet. What they don't understand is, you know, hey, George, they don't understand. Like I say, y'all understand when this man told me he was at a radio station kicking off, or was it R&B and soul? Or was it jazz, George?
Soul.
So believe me, guys, when I tell you George knows the game, George knows the game. And that's what y'all got. When people say that to you, George, they think because you're older that you know nothing, that you don't understand things today. No, man, you know more than they could ever imagine you knowing. And I just wanted to, and it's not me defending you or trying to back you. I'm just being real with you. A lot of these people out here don't realize that everything that y'all think y'all doing and everything y'all think y'all are creating and everything y'all think you know has already been done before, decades, even centuries ago. So don't think someone like George doesn't know the dynamics, because he does. That's why he cold. That's why I name him White Chocolate, because he's smooth. He's smooth. But y'all don't. A lot of people don't know smooth, George, because they never been around men. So they won't. They like women. You know, they get catty, George. So but I didn't mean to jump off subject, but I just wanted to say that, because the information that you're giving is gold, man. It's a lot of gold nuggets in what you're saying today to a lot of these young men who are afraid of being a man. That's why they lashing out at you, George, because what fear does to a grass-eating lion, it makes him lash out like a woman. Yo, what do you know, George? You old man. You don't know nothing about women today. Come on, man.
Yeah.
George was smashing women before you even had a thought of what a woman was. Come on, man. But George, we gonna go ahead and wrap this up. And the guys, real quick, 21convention.org/America. Make sure y'all check that out and get your tickets for the convention in Orlando. George, real quick, when are you flying out, man? When are you heading out, brother?
I'm flying out on Tuesday, and I will arrive on Wednesday. So it's an overnight flight, and looking forward to it. And I've got my interpreter that will be with me for the entire time to help me with any language issues, and she will be with me, and you will meet her as well.
Oh yeah. Well, great.
Yeah, and I look forward to meeting everybody across the ocean like that, and I just think I think it's going to be incredible. I'm looking forward to greeting everyone with a handshake and learning a little bit about everybody. And for the guys that are going to be at the Poland conference, I will introduce myself to you. You won't have to come up to me. I'm going to come up to you, and I want to know something about you. I want to know one fact about you, because whenever I see you again, I'm going to ask you about that fact.
Yeah. Now, George.
And,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's what I'm expecting of the attendees. I want you to tell me something about yourself, and also too, when you come to a conference, there used to be a time when you would just sit in the audience and listen, and that's it. But these conferences are very interactive.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to be mixing with us in the hallways, in the lounges, in the cafe in the morning, having coffee, outside smoking a cigar or something like that, or whatever. I mean, it's not what you're not, gentlemen, what you're not going to is a conference of untouchable superstars. We are very accessible and enjoy being with you. We enjoy it.
Yeah.
And the reality is, and I have to say it, nobody is getting paid for this.
Not at all.
Anthony Johnson is not writing me a check. I know one idiot said to me, George is being swayed by the money. I'm like, really, you fool?
Yeah.
At the end of the conference, Anthony's not handing me a check and saying, hey, thank you for showing up.
Exactly.
The reality is, I'm doing this because I dig people, period.
Yes.
People saying, and some of the idiots that we recently separated from said stuff like, he's being swayed by the money, he's a sellout. And I'm like, shut the up, will you, dude? Exactly. And, the reality is, every one of us is there, number one, out of love in our hearts for people. We're not there for our egos, because it's, many of us get on stage and talk about some pretty low points in our lives. That certainly does not help your ego at all. Right. We're there to see you succeed, to overcome a lot of stuff, to learn how to be better in life with other men, with women, to help you recover from some sadness that you might have in a way that no therapy could ever do. So you guys are in for a treat that are coming to Poland. And for those that are coming in October to Orlando, you are in for a treat.
Yeah. Yeah, George. I was sitting next to you at the dinner table, but like you say, I'm not going to ask him one thing like you, because that's your thing. But I made sure I got up and I shook everybody's hand. I made sure I got up.
You did.
Yeah, I introduced myself to everybody at every table, and to thank you. And we had fun. Like you say, the interaction. We had Anthony's sister who was there, and I had guys approaching his sister. I had 3 or 4 guys talking to trying to approach his sister. I mean, we were having fun. We were laughing, and it was a relaxing time where guys would sit down and smoke cigars, and it wasn't like you could just pull up a chair and then golf yourself and talk, and all we do is share stories, laugh, and enjoy each other's company. And that's what you get from this. This is not a, like I say, there's no check being, hey George, if there's a check being held, I need to talk to
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't get a check. No, but no, seriously though, this is not about the money, man. And it's not
Yeah.
about, it's not like that, man. It's nothing like sitting there and seeing people that really want to learn and they really want to soak up information. And then when it's all said and done, it's not like we're going to be whisked away by bodyguards. We come down, and if you want to talk to us for a moment, you can. You can engage us. We'll engage you. You know, we're not trying to say we're better than you, and we're not the kind of person that just comes down when he has to talk and then whisk away upstairs. That's not us. That's not us. We love you guys. We want to interact with you guys and all these things because this is something different, man. And for those that hate on this and those that want to stop this thing, you ain't going to be able to stop A1. I don't care what y'all say. That man is on something that's on another level, and he is working his ass off to make sure that you guys get the quality that you deserve in these speakers. Because I'm telling you, man, it's nothing like getting off the stage. Hey, there's a whisk away. You get off the stage, then you get whisked away because you're about to meet white chocolate. You get whisked away. You go up the steps and all that stuff, and there in his own room, my man George, just chilling, relaxed. Guys, I cannot tell you, man. Don't miss out on this, man. Guys, I'm telling you, get on this. The 21convention.org/America. Start working towards Orlando if you're in the States. Get there. We want to meet you. We want to know about you and your story, where you came from and where you're trying to go, man. And if we can help you out with that by giving you some insight and a little encouragement, and a pat on the back and a punch of your got DAM chest, then we gonna do that. But you know, that's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about, George.
Yeah, you know, I had a guy come up to me who was a subscriber and follower of my channel, young black man. I'm guessing 22 to 25 years old, and I frequently talk about I have sons all over the world. I'm like the father that many people never had, and I did not give myself that title. I get emails every single day, about 100 emails a day from people all over the world. And the most frequent thing that they might say is, you're like the father that I never had. Well, this young man came up to me, good looking fella. And he says, I've been following you for a couple of years now. And he says, you know how you talk about people who write you letters and say that you're the father they never had? I go, yeah. And he says, George, I'm honest with you right now. He goes, you are the father that I never had. And I said, well, young fella, I said, you are the son that I never had.
Yeah.
And
that's real.
You know, and I'm sure he's watching this. You can't stop love. You can't stop it. You can't stop love. Right. And the 21 convention, for me, my participation in the 21 convention is not financial in any way.
Right.
There's no ego because I'm leaving work for a week and a half. I'm not getting a check or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I do get a few more followers on social media as a result of it. But it is powered by love. It's fueled by love. Yep. And if you don't feel love at the 21 convention, then there's something wrong with you.
Oh, yeah.
Because every single person, every speaker, every person who's in the administration and the volunteers, they're powered by love, care, and concern. This is not an ego trip. There's no puffed out chests there, you know, looking for false praise. That's all I have to say. Get ready. I know it sounds cliche, and I know we're gearing up for October real soon, but get ready to feel the impact of men that you've watched on your mobile devices, on your laptop, on your TV. Get ready to watch an event fueled by love, care, and concern.
Yes, absolutely. Couldn't say.
Absolutely. The Patriarch Convention was hope, positivity, and optimism. Upcoming conferences, love, care, and concern.
Yes.
And those are words that we only use for our own children.
Yeah.
And how can I possibly love a stranger? Let me put it this way: the true meaning of love is doing something without expecting something in return.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what you, Steve the Dean Williams, are doing. You are giving of yourself for the next week with expecting nothing in return.
No one, nothing. Yeah. No,
You're not you're not coming back with a bag of gold.
no, I'm not on here. Exactly. Exactly. I just, my thing is, like you say, man, I want these guys to also realize that the enemy out there is always going to throw stones. And this is why I told him, George, y'all guys got to understand, take the stones that are being thrown by enemies and keep building your castle, man. Let them do all the
Yeah.
work, and you'll be fine. Because you know what? The thing about the enemy or the Smith out there is they don't want you to grow. All they want you to do is be a fan, or I don't know, a big fan of them, and follow them around, and they dictate to you what you should and shouldn't do. We don't do that over here. And George, like I say, guys, I just met George. I only met when I met the first time I met George was at the event, and this man is that's why I wanted to sit by him at dinner, because just listening to his stories, and he's just guys, if y'all get a chance to meet White Chocolate, I'm telling y'all gonna love him. He is kind, warm, he is thoughtful, he is respectful. What you see on this show right here is the same. This is the thing about men, George, is that what you see on video is the same you see in life. He's doesn't you don't he's the same guy. He's a great man, laid back, and like he said, there are tons of guys that do the same thing, that are not on an ego trip. It's not about making money, because we're not making money. There's not one red cent of money that we're making after we say goodbye to y'all from Poland. There's nothing. I'm being real with y'all. Yeah, I tell you, we real on this show. That is not. It's not. That's not what it's about. It's having the honor to be able to give you tools that you can incorporate into your life, that you can utilize and move forward as a man. And that's what Anthony is giving people. And it's just a shame that so many don't see the bigger picture, because they messing with small okay, small people.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good.
I stop. Okay, so well, George, I'm gonna give you the last word. We're gonna wrap this up, and I just want to say one more time, this is being brought to you by Tactical Soap. Guys, don't forget, tomorrow there is a Red Man Group show tomorrow. And also, guys, don't forget, Sunday, I'm going to do the Red Pill Mindset Sunday, because I'm flying out on Monday. But the thing about me is I don't want to miss a date. So if I can't do it on Monday, I'm going to do it on Sunday. So I'm going to do the show this Sunday on this channel, and then I'm going to fly out. And don't worry, we'll be doing shows from my laptop in Poland. But George, I'm going to give you the floor before we wrap this up, sir. You have the floor, sir.
Yeah, man. People can go to my website. There's a landing page. Sign up for my newsletter at georgebruno.com. After the Poland trip, I will be doing very regular, actionable newsletters with techniques that you can use to be more effective in life, not just with women, but with people and with life. Secondly, if you're coming to 21 in Poland and October, which I do encourage you to do, be ready to receive care and concern. Even though there's a very big rah-rah factor at these events, be open for change. That's the first thing. And also be ready to make decisions. be ready to walk away from these events being a different person. I know there are some people that are fragile that come to these things and they put on a strong face, and that's perfectly okay. I can't think of no one ever called somebody a pussy for going to the emergency room. You only go to the ER when you really truly need it. And these events are like that. Don't be afraid to exhibit weakness. No one is going to judge you at all. This group of men is not going to judge you. You can call other channels and they'll berate you and call you all kinds of names and use all kinds of weird ass terms. We're not going to do that. And because we give a damn about you. And so don't be afraid. You don't have to be a tough guy. You don't have to. And if you are, that's cool too. I mean, if you're a gym bro and you know and you're a pickup dude and all that, that's cool. That's all good. You know, that's what young men are. You know, that's what we're made of. But not everybody has granite pillars inside of them. So don't be afraid to share any vulnerabilities with a trusted member of the team. You will walk away stronger from these events. So I'll see you guys there.
All right. George, one last question. Are you going to be on the group tomorrow with the group that was being asked in the chat room? Are you going to be on with the group or?
I don't think so. I'm working at the salon tomorrow.
Okay, cool. All right, well, guys. All right, well, thank you, George, and George filling in for Donovan. Donovan had to take care of some stuff. But guys, if y'all have any questions, George gave you his information. Get with George. If y'all interested, get with me at the Man Mindset on my Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all the same. But other than that, guys, we will see you guys tomorrow. I think the Redman starts at 10:30 East, or is it 11:30? Donovan will post that. I don't want to get the wrong time. So Donovan will post that. But guys, go ahead and hit that bell. I guess there's a bell that y'all can hit, subscribe and hit that bell to get the updates and stuff like that. And we'll definitely go from there. As for George and myself, this is the Redline show. We all have a very good night, George. Go ahead. Hey, George, without, let's see. Go ahead and say we out, MF. No, just playing, George. Tell him we out.